Ayo, what up? It's FyrBorne, and we're going to be looking at Season 2, its patch notes, how it's affected the game the last few days, and what do I expect the game to do over the rest of this season. Well, for most people, you're going to notice when you start off, the RPK is still around everywhere because pretty much nothing changed about that. It is noted that it was actually nerfed, but for the most part, no one sees really that much of a change. The other problem weapon, the Finnick, it actually took some damage. So at least that's one gun that's been changed. The X13s, the pistols, the dual full auto ones, they got buffed. I'm not sure why that was the option, but they did. On the other hand, the Akimbo side of it took a nerf, so that may or may not work out. We've got some good weapon balancing outside of that. I was really hoping for some more. And I think a lot of it is going to be just throwaway balancing because primarily most of the stuff has been changed in the tuning as well to be a bit stronger. So it looks like that most of the nerfs that most of the weapons received is just going to be made up for in some of the tuning. Weapons that walked away a little bit better than they were before are the M13, and I think that's about it. Honestly, the M13 got an increased damage at mid-range and upper torso damage, which means it's going to be less of a pea shooter and will probably be actually reliable at long range. They did some semi-auto rate of fire increases for the Lightman 5.56 and the M4. Doesn't make much of a change. The Cast-Off 7.62 saw exactly the same nerf that the RPK did, which means basically nothing. And the STB made it so that the single tap mod that no one cares. We don't really care. They nerfed most of the battle rifles, and by that I mean all of them. They nerfed all the battle rifles in full auto, and they buffed the semi-auto on most of them a little bit. Unfortunately enough, semi-auto doesn't make much of a change in Warzone, primarily because the rate of fire loss by swapping to semi on most of them is going to be enough to, of course, kind of offset any buffs they actually get. And considering that the TAC V was the best one that we had, it got nerfed too, so it's probably going to be still pretty much usable, but probably just a little less so than it was. They've done some launcher rebalancing. Hopefully none of you use that. And they nerfed the marksman rifles as well by reducing long range damage and increasing upper torso for the EBR. Added a minimum damage against LMS. And then the attack increased rate of fire, which is nice. Increased torso damage, which is nice. But added a minimum damage against armor as well. So hit or miss. The biggest problem with the marksman rifles is, though a lot of this reads as a buff, most of it is still a nerf considering they have removed backpacks. The Vesnak took some damage range loss. The Minibak took some damage range loss. The Finnick took some damage range loss. And insane to me is that the SMGs are taking range damage losses considering that they are already pretty bad at even close to mid-range. And the ARs don't do nearly enough to separate themselves from the SMGs up close. So realistically, this is just an overall loss for SMGs and their viability. Luckily enough, the SMGs are going to still be pretty good because of the Resurgence map, Ashik Island, and so they'll be pretty decent. I think this is really just to kind of try to corner off the island from being 100% SMGs, but it's going to be 100% SMGs and LMGs, so there's really not much here to take from that otherwise. Melee took a nerf. Thank goodness. It's still really too fast. I wish it would have been changed to 4, but right now it takes 3 hits to down a fully armored player. I'll take whatever victory I can get. They reduced the ADS penalty for bipods and fixed an issue with chokes, attachments, scaling, hip spread incorrectly. That's not going to really matter much to us BR players because pretty much nobody uses shotguns and BRs because they are DOA. And then they nerfed the Signal 50 and did nothing to buff the sniper rifles. So you know I'm sad, but you know at the same time I pretty much called that there would be nothing to help with the marksman rifles. We did get new weapons. The crossbow marksman rifle that we can't get a hold of yet because of timing. The dual Kodachi's melee. The KV broadside, which is a shotgun. And then the ISO Hemlock assault rifle. Out of all of that, pretty much the only thing usable in Warzone is the Hemlock. I think primarily the benefit is running 300 Blackout makes it so that it always is the same number of bullets to down at every range. So hit or miss on the Hemlock. It might be worth running. It might not. We're going to keep testing it. I've got quite a few builds that I've ran through. and hopefully it will be worth using. Hopefully, that's the last thing that I need, is not to have another bad choice in the game. And then we also have the new marksman rifle coming out mid-season. So we still got a while to wait on that one. About 45 days usually is about what it is. So we'll check back in about 45 days to see if it's worth anything. There were a bunch of bug fixes and then new bugs patched into the game. So, one step forward, two steps back kind of system. But we've got some of them that they've come through and fixed. They fixed quite a few over the last couple of days. Hopefully they continue this speed of adjustments. We've had 4 patches in 3 days. So, hey, that's a step up. Hopefully we aren't waiting another 4 months for another weapon balance patch, as again the RPK is still way too strong. And if you are playing on Resurgence Island, you are most likely seeing that a lot. They did do some changes to the big map, which we have the 1v1 Gulag, the 3-plate system all the time. They have added now in a spawn protection. So when you're falling from the sky, you can no longer be shot out of it. That is problematic now because they are giving people full auto 3 plates, full auto weapons with 3 plates in the Gulag, giving them spawn protection for them to land right on top of you, fully kitted. So I foresee a bunch of issues with this in the future. So do be careful if you are holding any height in Al Mazrah. You are subject to being dropped on by 1, 2, 3 different people with full auto, fully kitted weaponry and 3-plate system. And that's not great. It's really not. It's going to be a nightmare on any and every re-entry from the Gulag. So do be careful, or on the flip side, abuse it. Honestly, it's going to be your best bet for getting back into the game. Land on somebody trying to take shots running across a field or whatever, because realistically at this point, they just want you to abuse players that are trying to play the game. So, yeah. So how has the season been treating you? We have a poll up inside of our community tab if you want to go answer on that as well. Or you can leave the answer here in the comments. It would be very welcomed to have you. I hope you all have been enjoying Season 2. We're going to continue playing it, a lot. I'm also considering adding a little bit of Apex to the channel. If that's something you'd like to see, obviously leave your voice to be heard down in the comments as well. But thank you all so much for checking out the video. I will see you all on the Warzone. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else, peace.